Hello everybody and welcome into Roughneck Racing's Madness Money Racing Series, making a stop here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway. And we have got a pretty stout field. Joining me in the booth here tonight, co-host Matt Mettler. Matt, how you feeling here tonight?
I am fired up, ready to rock and roll. The nighttime is prime time for some big-time money racing. Can't get ready to kick this one off with you.
It is going to be a good one. We got a lot, again, big names, as we mentioned, in these next-gen cars. But let's get right into it with tonight's starting grid. How about taking the pole? It's going to be Daniel Falkingham in the 54 machine. Garrett Maines, new-looking paint scheme for Garrett. He will roll off on the outside in second. And then it's going to be Cody Nagels back in third. Matthew Baker will line up to his outside in fourth. Matt Lee back in fifth. Ethan Eckert rounds out row 3 in sixth, followed by Nash Brambilla, Ken McCullough Jr. back in row 4. Kenny Real will start in ninth, and it's Jason Maines rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, Chase Mastretta in the 9 ride. Outside of him, rolling off 12th from my home state of Florida, that's going to be Freddie Bates. 13th belongs to Daniel Steele, while outside of him from Moose Knuckle Motorsports, Chris, one of my favorite Meltons in the 49 ride. Brian Henning's going to roll off 15th, while Jonathan Herbert going to start P16. 17th belongs to, from McCullough Motorsports, you guessed it, Joshua McCullough. 18th, John Darnell with third. Rolling off 19th, Michael Machetta in that 32 ride. And rounding out your top 20 is going to be Michael Guest in the 24.
Malik Ray will start 21st in the 7 machine. Kyler Wynn, his teammate, to his outside in 22nd. James Wagner back in the 23rd spot. Then it'll be Mark Mondell to his outside in 24th. Rounding out the field here tonight is going to be Pete Dillon, who starts in that 25th position. Taking a brief look at your race info. The distance we're going to go here tonight is going to be set up a little bit interesting. What you'll notice is actually that this first race, I believe, is going to be the heat unless they skipped it. We'll look at that in just a moment. The original idea was it was going to be 2 heats, 10 laps each. We didn't quite have as big of a field as initially expected, so it should be just 1 heat at 10 laps, and then we'll move on into the feature, which will be 60 laps total, 50% fuel, unlimited tires, no fast repair, fixed setups as always, and then 3 green-white checkers if we were to need them. You look at Talladega Superspeedway, 2.65 miles in length, over 30 degrees of banking in the corners. Track temp tonight, a little warm, going to start at 118 degrees, 75 outside, 45% humidity, partly cloudy skies, and winds at 2 miles an hour. All right, with that, we're getting ready to get to green flag racing, so we'll go ahead and get the tower set up and get ready for that. But we talked about the 1 heat format, 10-lap shootout here. And it's kind of interesting. I was trying to figure it out, Matt, here. I believe we are going to have potentially a couple drivers that have to go home after the heat. No, I take that back. That's not the way these heats are set up. They might just be for a little bit of extra money to potentially the heat winner. We'll get that and more, but it's also going to set up the starting order for the main event. All right, here we go. Before we get to the main event, we got to get a little pre-race action out of the way first. It'll be, again, a 10-lap shootout field in the hands of Garrett Maines and Daniel Falkingham. They'll roll into the restart zone. And for the first time here tonight, green flag is in the air. We are underway at Talladega.
One lap on the board as we're officially underway here at Talladega, or better known as Earnhardt Country. Already fast and furious up at the front of this piece. Big time movers on the high side, but don't look now. Here comes the middle line, and we got a spin up front. Driver got donkey punched in the back door. He's going to get shot off to the racetrack, but it looks like we're going to stay green. Big things popping, little things stopping here in the early going. There is the 23 machine. Nash got bashed, literally. You can see, he's got a broken spindle on that Dark Horse Ford Mustang. The good news is, a silver lining, this is a heat race, folks, is we are deadlocked right now in a Friday night shootout special as the fireworks kicked off early here as we send it back up to the front of this thing, Austin.
That was a big hit. Before we actually do watch the front of the field here, we're going to rewind this just a little bit and see what happened here to Nash Brambilla. Got turned out of line going down the backstretch, and man, he broke more than just a spindle. I mean, this was a huge hit for the 23 who was leading the race here, and then as they come off the turn, I don't know if he was trying to follow Kenny Reel up as a block or if Reel just gets him offset, starts to send the 23 up, and then right there, once he starts to get turned, goes down, and that's a big hit to the left front. Nothing Nash Brambilla could do right there. That's a tough way to start the race, but you mentioned it, Matt. Just a heat race. Not a big deal there, but as we go back live, under caution here for an incident that it looks like may have involved Chris Melton, trying to figure out if we've got any cars up here with major damage. I don't see it yet, but we may not have gotten data on some of the cars potentially involved. This will help out Brambilla. As actually, I guess the answer is they did have a fast repair in this, Matt, because Brambilla has gotten his car, it looks like, fixed up. Well, maybe he hasn't. I'm looking at the left side, or rather the right side, and I think he actually had all that damage on the left side. Let's see if we can get a view of that. I don't know. Brambilla looks to be cleaned up. Yeah, he is. Okay, so I guess they did have one fast repair, arguably, in these heats. But before we talk about that, let's go back and see what happened here. We were back looking at Nash Brambilla and the incident that he was involved in when we had this happen up front. This is in the lead pack towards the back of it. Watch Chris Melton here in the 49. That's going to be where this incident kind of starts at, right around the area that he was running. You see him in the third lane up top, just above Garrett Maines. There was a lot of shuffling going on. They're going to go 4 wide here, entry to the corner. That usually doesn't work out all too well unless everybody's kind of setting up to do it intentionally. This is one of those cases where I don't think they necessarily wanted to go 4 wide. They just kind of unnaturally get into that spot, and John Darnell just barely tags the 49 in the left rear. Doesn't take much. Car starts to get upset. Around it goes, and Melton hard into the wall. Looks like the 32. Michael Menchaca also hard into the wall. John Darnell looks like he's going to get some damage as well.
Yeah, Talladega doing Talladega things here. You know, to your point, these drivers definitely didn't want to go 4 wide, and it's another offset accidental push here. Just comes up and clobbers 49 there in the bumper, sends him up the racetrack, and then bad things happen on afterwards. Just as we were watching the replay there moments ago, as this happened live while we were cut to replay, if you go to the in-car cam, you see that incidental contact there that kicked this one off. As you're on board here with Darnell, who had front row tickets, unfortunately, to that one. You see the sparks flying as we go back to the bumper can. And Morgantown, West Virginia native is going to have his hands full here early in this heat race. But to your point, one fast repair, and some of these drivers having to use it early.
Yeah, it's a tough break for the guys that are running in the back because they're kind of trying to help each other out, trying to get to the front, but it's just, and we're going to be talking about this really all night, and I think you'll eventually see it kind of translate up front. It's kind of the byproduct of the aggression that you have to have in these next gens. The runs, they're just so massive, but at the same time, you can get stalled out so quickly, and I do want to actually get one more look at this, back this up. I wonder if John Darnell actually got split here in a bit of an odd spot that kind of started this. So we'll bring it all the way back to the tribal here and go back to the chopper view. And watch where Darnell first gets split. Right? Oh, well, Darnell doesn't, I don't know if he gets split as much as he tries to make the split. He's up top here. He's got a bit of a run. I'm not sure if he was hoping he'd get clear the 32 or what. He realizes here that he's not clear, it seems like, although he does start to come down on the 32 a little bit more. But then right here, I don't know, Matt. You think maybe he was trying to slot up in line behind the 49 and maybe just misjudged it a little bit?
I think that's exactly what happened there. You mentioned in this race car, you get those big runs. He was trying to utilize it. You know, as a driver, you hate not being able to convert those big runs into positions on the racetrack. And I think he was just perhaps being a little too aggressive here too early. And that was probably the main catalyst that set the back of this field aflame. As we're under here, caution for the first time this evening, with officially now showing 6 laps to go on that scoring pylon, is that iRacing.com pace car gets ready to pull on off.
Yeah, getting ready to get back to green flag racing. It'll be just a handful of laps left. A shootout to decide who's going to take home the heat victory and potentially some money along with it. Malik Ray, Kenny Reel going to start on the front row. Kenny has been pretty good in this car as of recent. We'll see if he can keep that momentum up here tonight. Green flag back in the air. Officially 5 laps to go here in heat number 1 at Talladega. And it's a good restart for all 3 of the Coke Series drivers lined up on the outside. Malik Ray just behind him. Daniel Falkingham. Michael Guest third in line at the moment. And oh man, there was a big wiggle. Eckert tried to grab the right rear. Guest couldn't do it. He'll have to tuck back down in line. Kenny Reel's going to take a look to the top. Watch the momentum as Malik Ray and Falkingham tandem up with the 11 of Kenny Reel. They're going to get at least 1, maybe 2 clear down the back.
1-2 clear down the back as car scatters. Look at that top line trying to get the momentum going, but the bottom lane going to surge ahead here with a big-time push. It's a John 4 special through the 3 and 4 complex. Car gets off the racetrack there. That's going to cost him some momentum. And look at Kenny Reel hit the afterburner going through the tri-oval on the high side of the racetrack.
And by the way, don't forget that $25 for the heat. Everybody that's in this heat is making the race. So basically, you're guaranteed a free reset once this heat's over, so you got to go for it. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in the back or the front, if you get in a wreck or don't, you're still going to be in the main race. So I think you're going to see the aggression really ramp up here as we'll be coming to 3 to go next time, but still 2x2 as they work off a turn 2 down the Alabama gang back straightaway. Kenny Reel leading the high side. Kenny McCullough Jr. on the inside. He's getting pushed by the 6 of Cody Nagels. It's a 3 versus 2 tandem. The high side had more help, and now they're going to break apart. Kenny Reel will take them all down for a bit of a side draft through 3 and 4. Trying to stall it out. Was Ken McCullough Jr. pushed enough to get clear? The answer is no. They'll stay 2x2 up front as they fan out 3 wide out back.
They fan out 3 wide out back, but up at the point, it's still Kenny Reel being magical on the high side of the racetrack. He's got Malik Ray in tow. That tie lane is formed up now, but don't look now, but here comes the middle lane. They're trying to utilize the sucker hole to get up to the point. You see that Ryko number 1 machine there working with the 5 right behind him as these cars are all scattered. 3 wide, almost 4 wide. Get skinny, boys. This is getting ugly.
Yeah, Mastretta was trying to figure out somewhere to go with the momentum. Watch out. There goes the one of Garrett Maines. Back up into the field. He's going to collect a couple. Caution is out as we've got more contact. Ethan Eckert's going to get in the secondary hit of it. Dalton Steele in the 41 was one of the first cars to go around. John Darnell will sneak through. But the 41 of Dalton Steele all torn up. He'll come to a halt in the grass down below the apron in turn 3. And for Ethan Eckert, he's got major damage to his number 12 Ford Mustang. We had multiple cars involved in this incident. Jonathan Herbert.
He's going to have to get in the zone or auto zone for some parts on pit road on that machine. You know, I like to say it sometimes, but in the words of Phil Collins, we can feel this one coming in the air tonight as we go back to that PGR instant replay. Watch this one.
Yeah, we'll back it up a little bit for you here, a little bit more, and try to get a couple angles. I did want to show you first here kind of the TV3 shot. That's what we saw initially, but instead I think we'll look first kind of from an aerial angle here. Watch Garrett Maines. This is where it's all going to start. So just behind Garrett here, you've got Ken McCullough Jr., Cody Nagels pushing him. Cody starts to get a little bit offset to the right. He's going to jump up to the middle right here. And then, wow, boy, that was really, really interesting there, Matt. It looks like, I mean, you see the 03 darting sideways almost as if that's kind of the same move that we would see someone try to make if they were trying to throw a block. I don't think that that's what Ken was doing, but I almost wonder, was there some little bit of netcode here that starts to hook the 03, or was it maybe when Cody slid off the right side of his bumper, did it start to hook him? I'm not sure, but whatever starts to dart Ken sideways gets him into Garrett. And then once that contact's made, Garrett's going to go back up the track, and this is where all bets are off. The carnage starts unfolding, and you see some big hits there, especially for Ethan Eckert. Garrett Maines, though, looks like he was able to escape relatively unscathed in that one.
Yeah, you can't have a car plug up the main artery here at speeds of almost 200 or north of 200 at times. You have that sliding roadblock, just nowhere to go, and a lot of cars mangled up here. You go on board now. There you see the contact.
And watch it slow here. Watch Ken. Does the car just kind of drift on him, or is there a little bit of wheel input that's doing that? Kind of looks like there's a little bit of wheel input, doesn't it?
Just ever so slightly, and sometimes that's all you need, Austin.
Yeah, it may have just been a slight adjustment, which, I mean, who knows? Maybe it was just a brief counter to a push that he got from Cody, or like I said, I just don't know. That would certainly be a very, very rare mistake from Ken McCullough Jr., one of the veterans of the series, to just drift up enough to get some contact with the one at Garrett. The good news here for Ken is I think he saves it. I think he's okay here. Looks like he is. That's a heck of a save after the fact for Ken McCullough Jr. Unfortunately, though, for everybody else, the damage was already done. And for Ethan Eckert here, I think we both saw, as you said, he needed to go get some parts from Advanced Auto Parts after the hits he took. Watch the onboard shot for Eckert. He's going to see Garrett get turned, thinks, okay, down low, tries to sneak by the high side, but just gets wedged into the wall, and he's going to take a couple more beatings here as back into the safer barrier once again. Goes up on two wheels briefly before doing a little bit of drifting through the grass. Eventually works his way back up on the racetrack. Once the damage was all said and done, though, this one looks like it's going to ultimately tear up and maybe make probably about 3 to 4 different drivers take out a fast repair.
Yeah, I mean, he caught a howitzer to the A-pillar of that race car, and then it was just holding on for there. Then he goes John Deere mode down through the grass. I mean, that was a wild ride. In fact, similar scenario for most of these drivers that got caught up in this one. You know, that's what I love about these heat races. They may be short, but the adrenaline, the dial is set through the roof. You can feel the energy already out on the racetrack, and that's what I love about heat racing. It's almost like a 10-lap shootout at the end of a long race here at Talladega. Each time you re-rack them and restack them, and that's what we're getting ready to do once again, is we're just 3 laps to go in Heat 1.
Yeah, it's getting everybody a practice for what we're going to expect in the last 10 laps of the main feature. All right, here we go. It'll be a 2-lap shootout to decide it. Got to make it to the white flag to make it official, but I don't believe there's any green-white checkers, so if they wreck, that could end the race as well. Right out of the gate, Brian Henning's either with an issue or gets shuffled out as he is now stuck up top on the 3rd lane. Up front, though, they are rolling 2x2. Who's going to make the first jump? It'll be the 82 of Kyler Wynn. Mastretta wants to go with him. He's got some front-end damage, but he'll have to try it anyway. Falkingham trying to make something happen here as he pushes Kenny Real. Freddie Bosnez further back, trying to also make a surge to the front on the 3rd lane. And watch this, Matt. A lot of momentum. Where's Kyler going to take it? He'll go back to the inside. Dives all the way down to tag up with 2 of the Coke Series drivers. And this is going to get really dicey here as they work off of turn 4.
Really dicey off of turn 4 as it's all Kenny Real currently carrying the torch right now with that Jordan-colored Camaro at the point. All the momentum seems to be going up the high side of the racetrack. Falkingham is there. There's Chase Mastretta as well. Is they're coming to the line through the Geico restart zone. Kenny Real is going to bag one here in Earnhardt country. Daniel Falkingham giving him a big-time push, his battle buddy in that one. Matt Lee is going to come home 3rd. What a way to open up this night of money racing right here on PGR, Austin.
I think they're still racing here, Matt. It looked, I agree, the scoring tower showing it official, but they're still going at it here down the back. 2x2. Here comes the 54. Daniel Falkingham, he's looking for one more big move as watch out back. Trouble as a couple go off. Lee and Baker, they'll get clear. They jump down. Now it's going to start to all unfold out back. Still 3 wide, but up front, oh man, Baker's going to try to make a move here on Lee, or does he stick with him? Kenny Reel's going to make one more look to the inside. Baker might try to stay tandemed up the rest of the way. Falkingham with a run, but it's not going to be enough. Baker's going to push him all the way home, and it will be Matt Lee that holds on for the Heat 1 win.
Great call sniffing that one out. We apologize for the error on our timing and scoring, but these guys were in it to win, and I thought something was off, and then you tipped your hat to it. And it just goes to show you, sometimes you don't want to be leading on the last lap at Talladega as, my goodness, big-time change-up in the running order, especially inside the top 5. Is the man Nash going to get the win? Michael Guest, Garrett Maines going to round out your top 3.
And we've got all sorts of errors in scoring here. I'm not sure what's going on. We'll hope that this can get reset for the feature. Sometimes this happens when you start to throw in heats to the race, but we'll go back and see if we can actually show you just quickly what that end result looked like here manually before we get the restart here. And again, it was Matt Lee at the line who we believe took it. This is that first restart. We'll go a lap more. It's Matthew Baker coming through. This was actually, we'll go, well, went a little bit too far. I don't know if we're going to have time to go exactly to where this ended, but the idea here was that Matthew Baker and Matt Lee, they're going to get connected here at some point, and I think it's going to be actually as they're coming to the wides when they get connected, and they're going to take this momentum all the way to the front. And they're going to keep it that way, but a lot of moves had to be made throughout this heat for them to get in that position. We had a couple cautions in between. Yeah, so it looks like as of right now, at least, we're not going to have time to get that sorted out. Scoring not cooperating too well with us, but what it looked like from everything we could see is that Matt Lee was indeed your heat winner, and now we're still trying to figure out what's happening here. I'm not even seeing cars being scored on track right now. I see some talking, but I believe these guys have a brief warm-up, or did the session have an issue? Looks like the session may have had an issue here, Matt. I'm seeing a lot of drivers. You can see it now as we pull up the UI. Down here, a lot of drivers disconnecting. That may indicate that race control had an issue. Yeah, they must have. Everybody disconnecting. So it's looking like there may have been some sort of either issue in scoring or an issue in another factor of it. Race control is going to have to put up another session. And so that means that we may not exactly have what official scoring is going to be for that heat.
Yeah, hey, you love Talladega racing. Now we're throwing a whole new other spin on it with this timing and scoring errors. And to your point there, I almost got disconnected myself. So like you said, sometimes we got to take these problems as they come. They'll get a new session put up. We'll get things rejoined and back underway. But for right now, we got to try and get these gremlins sorted.
Yeah, we certainly do. And I'm looking at some of the chat. Good to see everybody in here tonight, by the way. Devin Ray says, what's up, Austin? Good to see you in here, Devin. Baker's mom says, like, share to your family and friends to help everybody out. We certainly appreciate that as well. Buster Malcolm, good to see you in here. Looks like Carl Haynes making a stop. Danny Barnes says, not liking the neon green on the tower, hard to read. I'll tell you what, fair enough. Danny, I can make a change to it next week. Try to kind of go with the general color scheme that these guys have for their overall league layout. We can certainly try to make some general adjustments to that. Appreciate the feedback, and looks like there's going to be another session going up. So what we're going to go ahead and do, as Devin Ray says, will we have another broadcast link, or is it this one? It will stay on this one, Devin. We will not be making another link unless these guys tell us that they're going to have another 30 or 40-minute practice, but I don't think that would be the case. So what we're going to do for now is go back to break. We'll play a little music here as we go back to the intermission screen. In fact, we'll take you all the way back to the starting soon screen, and we'll give you some updates when we have them. We'll put a timer up once we know how long till we officially start. So do stick with us here as we get ready for the feature later tonight at Talladega.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, won't you let the light shine through?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Roughneck Racing's Madness Money Racing Series, live tonight at the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. After a bit of a brief delay there, seemed like the admins had some sort of issue with the server. We are back and getting ready to kick off the feature event here tonight. Looks like they redid a qualifying session, and I assume, I'm not sure if they ended up having that be what set the grid order. I would assume so, because it doesn't look like the man that it appeared at least won the heat is starting on the pole. So they requalified. That's how the order is going to be determined. And so with that, let's get right down into it and talk about what the starting grid for tonight's feature event will look like. On the pole, it's going to be Garrett Maines starting in that first spot. Matthew Baker to his outside in second in the number 5. PGR eSports Chevy Camaro. Back in row number 2, it's going to be Cody Nagels alongside Kenny Reel. Row 3 is going to be Ethan Eckert and Chase Mastretta. Jason Main starts back in 7th. Freddie Bosnez in 8th, with Brian Hennings in 9th and Jonathan Herbert rounding out your top 10. Michael Guest, he'll start in the 11th spot. It's going to be Daniel Falkingham back in 12th. And then as we move on back to row number 7 here tonight, looks like it's going to be, well, what we initially thought was the qualifying order. Maybe it's not. Now they're going all over the place here as we start to get rolling. And so either way, we'll just keep going through it as the order's going to reset itself. And it looks like they are going to go ahead and base the order off the way the heats were. I'll tell you what, I don't mind it, Matt, and I'm sure you don't either. But boy, this definitely makes it a little bit more complicated for us up here in the booth. I apologize to everybody watching at home. We're trying the best we can with what we got. If they change things that we can't predict, and we can only commentate it as it happens live. So they are going to reset the order here, it looks like. So we'll have to go through this a little bit differently. Looks like it's going to be Matt Lee and Matthew Baker who will start on the front row. And as they continue to sort it out, it'll be Daniel Falkingham and Malik Ray back in row 2. Kyler Wynn, Cody Nagels, Brian Hennings, Kenny Reel, Chase Mistretta, and Michael Guest all inside the top 10. Then you've got Garrett Maines back in 11th, Freddie Bosnez in 12th, Michael Menchaca 13th at the moment, Ken McCullough Jr. 14th, Joshua McCullough 15th, Ethan Eckert 16th, Jason Maines back in 17th, Pete Dillon 18th, Jonathan Herbert 19th, Alex Hill rounding out your top 20. Dalton Steele back in 21st, John Darnell 22nd, Brock Westmoreland 23rd with Chris Melton 24th, Nash Brambilla 25th, James Wagner 26th, and Mark Vondell in at 27th. So they'll continue to sort this out, Matt. Boy, it's been a bit of an odd start here to the night, but looks like eventually we'll get this thing sorted out. And so try to notice the timing and scoring there on the left side of your screen. That will ultimately determine where everybody's starting as we get ready to get the green flag back in the air.
Or we hope. All the blind twists and turns to kick this event off. You would have thought we were at a road course somewhere overseas, but hey, like you said, all we could do is commentate what we're seeing out there on the racetrack. And this has been a wild one, I guess, from all angles tonight, but it looks like we have this DAC racked and stacked, ready to rock and roll. iRacing.com pace car getting ready to pull off down pit road, which means we're getting ready to drop the hammer in this feature event.
Absolutely. It's like waiting when you used to wait on the space shuttle and the launches kept getting scrubbed, but we're finally ready to go. So here we go. Matt Lee, Matthew Baker, two of the NBG Motorsports teammates ready to lead us back to green flag racing. And here we go. The feature event at Talladega is underway as the green flag flies. And it's a great restart for the 5 of Matthew Baker alongside his teammate Matt Lee. And already, boy, Malik, he did not waste any time jumping to the outside of Matthew Baker. We'll see if he can get clear. What is Matt Lee going to do? Nothing. Matthew Baker is going to get dropped all the way to the back of the pack. Nobody's going to go with them. And I'll tell you what, Matt, with as aggressive as Malik pulled out of line right there, that almost looked like that move was a little personal.
It did. It did. It felt big-time personal out there on the racetrack. And speaking of that, look at that Ryko machine. He just forced it where the sun didn't shine. I didn't think there was a lane there. I don't know how he made that fit. Garrett Maines is just on a mission tonight as well. These guys are throwing haymakers at each other already. We're not even one lap into this thing.
And as long as this session got set up right, according to the pre-race info that we received, there is not a fast repair in this feature. So now you do have to start worrying about how aggressive you are this early in the race. You don't want to get yourself damaged. That's going to potentially take you out of contention. Also, fuel mileage, from what we understand, again, if things didn't change, is at 50% in these cars. That should get you close to about 20 laps. Back up front, Kyler Wynn pushed Matt Lee out ahead. Now that he gets him clear, he'll jump up. Malik Ray is going to try to follow, but he's not quite able to make it work. That's going to put Malik in a very odd spot now as he's hung out in the middle. No help right now for the 7. He's going to fade to the back. He'll get picked up eventually by Jason Maines and Alex Hill. Looks like he jumps down low, and that leaves him 2x2 up front with Kyler leading the outside. He's getting tandemed up right now by Falkingham. And you've got Matt Lee on the inside getting pushed by Brian Hennings and Garrett Maines.
I'll tell you what, Falkingham is a beast when he is in that pusher position. We've seen that in that first heat as well, but right now that inside lane is large and in charge. Matt Lee carrying the torch down low. And just as I say that, as you know, Austin, look at that big-time move again there by that Ryko 1. He has been deadly since the drop of the green flag in this one. As we go on board, he goes up and administers a punch to the back of that ZL1 Camaro, giving him a big-time push down the backstretch as we get ready to rock and roll into 3 and 4.
Yeah, it almost seemed like, I don't want to say less aggressive because, of course, Garrett always has the aggressive mentality, but it just seemed like he was a little bit less aggressive in that heat than what we're used to seeing. I don't know if it was just the way the track position shuffled him or what, but man, here in the feature, Garrett, he is out for blood early. He is trying to get all the way to the front, and he's just about got there. Further back, Joshua McCullough trying the strategy of picking guys off one by jumping to the outside, grabbing a side draft off of their right rear and pulling them back, but it's going to stop right here. Chase Mistretta starts to pull away, but he'll get a little help now. Joshua McCullough gets tandem up with Malik Ray, and they're going to start to make a run right back to the front. These cars are all about who can handle the pushes. Whoa! Lee's going to get turned. Watch out. This is going to be a big hit. Caution's out. Two of them into the wall. Brian Hennings, not sure how bad it was for him, but Matt Lee, the rear end of that race car is torn off. First caution of the night, and for Lee, that's a big one.
Oh, my. I mean, to your point, the back of that car is literally gone. I mean, we could stare right to the fuel cell of that next-gen race car as that Camaro's got some big-time damage. And to your point, no fast repairs in the big show. I know it doesn't look like a snowplow at the front of this race car, but the back is every which way but how you want it, I should say, as I'm stumbling over myself looking at just how bad this race car is tore up right now.
And I zoomed everybody in here on a picture of his right rear, and you'll notice that's not how that tire is supposed to look. It should be a lot more straight, not necessarily slanted inwards towards the race car. That's why you see it crab walking a little bit here, as he is going to be able to limp it back to the pits, but a lot of damage that's going to have to get fixed here for Matt Lee. All right, so let's go back, take a look at it here, see how the first incident of the night gets sparked up. This is going to be coming off of turn 2, and is it going to be Kyler trying to make a jump to the outside? Let's see if that's where the initial contact starts. Kyler's pushing on the bottom here, trying to get the one of Garrett Maines clear. Kyler makes the decision to jump up. It looks like he's clear, but, I mean, is it a hesitation? I'm trying to figure out, does Lee move up? All right, so let's see. So Lee's left side tires at this point are on the white line. When Kyler initially jumps up, he's going to set himself, well, yeah, Kyler tries to set himself on the white line, but it almost seems like they get a little offset, and it might be partially that maybe Kyler hesitated just a little bit, and at the same time, maybe Matt Lee is moving up a little bit with the push from Falkingham.
Bingo.
That gets him a little offset, and he hits Kyler in the right rear. That gets Kyler out of shape, and then Falkingham trying to get back in line behind Lee. Unfortunately, he accidentally turns him. Looks like Lee was going to save it, but as he goes down the track, he's going to go across the nose of Brian Hennings. Once that happens, it's on from there, and then here's the big hit. Oh, my goodness. That car the rear end got basically wedged into the inside safer barrier. That explains how he got all that rear end damage.
Yeah, that rear end of that race car got absolutely destroyed, and that all started from a delayed move. It almost seemed like the front two cars on the bottom lane were trying to methodically work together to get up to the top, which is why that initial car had to hesitate, and sometimes you just need a fraction of a second to make bad things happen, and here's the byproduct right here. Two big-time names, prime-time drivers, got some adversity to face here early in this one. Man, that Premier car, the back of that thing is absolutely obliterated. As we go on board, take a look at this one more time.
And, you know, I'm looking at it here, Matt. It almost looks like, you know, it's kind of one man's misfortune is another man's fortune here, in the sense of Brian Hennings almost used Matt Lee as a cushion there from slamming the inside wall. So the back end of Brian Hennings' race car did get damaged, but I don't think he's nearly as bad as Matt Lee is. Looks like he does have a little bit on the front as well. Things certainly could have been worse, and for Brian Hennings, no reaction time here. I mean, not that he really could have had any, because watch how quick this happens from this point of view. All of a sudden, Matt Lee slides across his nose. Next thing he knows, they're both headed towards the inside wall, and that's what draws first blood here of the night. And so right now in the pits, Matt Lee still trying to get damages fixed on that race car. Looks like Brian Hennings is in the same boat at the moment. We'll see if those two are able to get back out on track, and if so, how far back they are and how many laps down they may potentially be. So 6 of 60 laps complete. And as we go back up front, Garrett Maines being scored as your leader. And it's Ken McCullough Jr. back in second. Kyler Wins in third. Daniel Falkingham fourth. And Cody Nagels currently rounding out your top 5.
Yeah, that's your top 5 as they currently run right now. And while under caution here, I just want to reiterate again, Garrett Maines has been absolutely electrifying since the drop of the green flag in this one. I mean, getting up to speed, he shoved that Camry in a hole. I didn't think it had no place to go. I thought that was going to be disastrous. Somehow makes that work. Then he makes all these big-time moves to the high side of the racetrack. Big-time blocks being thrown out there already. I mean, this is why I love money racing at Talladega. You don't have to sit there as a broadcaster and trim the fat off, count these laps down. These drivers put on a show each and every second of every lap, and we're getting ready to turn it back up to 100 once again as those lights go out on that pace car, Austin.
Yeah, you got that right, Matt. The intensity going to continue to ramp up. And, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at it, and for Garrett Maines, you think about the fact that he won a Tuesday Night Thunder championship last night, won pretty much $750,000, and so he's already got a lot of momentum to work off here tonight. He's got a whole bunch of confidence, and he's looking to go out and see if he can win a little bit more here tonight. By the way, we do have one driver cam tonight, and that is Matthew Baker, again rocking the number 5, PGR eSports, with the PGR 500 logo on the front, Chevy Camaro. He will restart back in the 9th spot just in front of Malik Ray to the inside, and you know, these two, Malik Ray and Matthew Baker, they've kind of made it known publicly they don't really like each other too much. And it's kind of a friendly rivalry. Well, I don't know if I'd call it fully friendly, but certainly a competitive rivalry between the two. I think that's part of the reason you saw Malik so quickly jump out of line. He wanted no part of trying to help Matthew Baker on that last restart. We'll see if Baker tries to repay the favor at some point later in this race. So when we go back green here, it's going to be 8 of 60 laps complete. That'll push the green flag stop back to probably about closer to lap 28 would be my general guess, and there's not really a huge benefit yet in saving, because even if you make it to 28, you're only going to be able to make it to about 48 after that, so it's still a 2-stop from here. That's the point I'm trying to make, and so we'll have to see if the aggression level does indeed stay at where we kind of think it's going to be. Either way, I'll tell you what keeps tripping me up on the inside right here is Daniel Falkingham and Freddie Bosnez. I mean, two of the exact same cars. They both got the Interstate paint schemes. The only difference is the lettering on one versus the other there. So who knows? Maybe the two Interstate cars can work together, but yeah, those are pretty much matching identical paint schemes here. Let's see what happens as the pace car is going to make the left turn, and they will work their way back up into the Geico restart zone.
Pushing the Geico restart zone. Green flag in the air. Garrett Maines is going to push it through the floorboards as these V8s come roaring back to life here at Earnhardt Country. The one tried to go up to the high side of the racetrack. Didn't try to throw it in there this time. He's going to stay committed to the bottom. And here come the Interstate boys. Those 254 cars, they are hooked up nose to tail and should be bringing the business. Coming on the low side of the racetrack is those Toyotas going to be 1, 2, 3. And just as I say that, one of them is going to break up to the high side as they got it turned up to 1,000. That Ryko machine throwing all the blocks to maintain that lead right now, Austin.
Yeah, man, they are really, really pushing the issue, and there you go. They're going to push it a little more. Malik Ray's going to jump to the high side, and whoa, Kyler Wynn now. He's going to make a move as well. Garrett looks a lane higher, nothing doing. They're going to both drop out the 54 of Falkingham. That does leave Freddie Bosnez, though, on the inside, pushing Cody Nagels. The inside still showing quite a bit of surgence right now. Alex Hill up top, working with the 87 of Jonathan Herbert. Those two, will they have a run? And if so, will they take it to the inside if they get clear? They're still 3 wide for about 10th on back. Everybody jockeying for any sort of position that they can get. As you see Chris Melton go back to the high side. Brock Westmoreland in the middle. He had a good run in the championship race of Tuesday Night Thunder last night. What can he do here tonight? Meanwhile, they start to single file out a little bit on the outside line up front.
Single file and singling out, like you said, on the high side lane here out front. Is this the point in the time where these drivers start to dial it back just a little bit? You're going to have to stay locked in with us right here on PGR eSports to find out as Kyler Wynn continues to carry the torch here as he leads these guys, ripping the top of the fishbowl here at Talladega. So get ready to come across the start and finish line here. Big time move down there to the bottom of the racetrack, and suddenly I am in section 122, row B, Austin. I can't see a thing.
Yeah, well, there's not too much happening right now. There's still 2x2. Nobody getting too crazy aggressive just yet, but another big push now to the back bumper of Kyler Wynn. Ooh, Matthew Baker. He had a little bit of a wobble up front, and man, where did that 5 car come from? out of nowhere to the lead, and now Matthew Baker is going to get a stack up with Nagels. Kyler and Garrett are going to have to do something here, because that's a big run coming on the inside. Does Kyler throw a block, or do they try to side draft? Looks like they're going to try to side draft here, but it will not be enough. Cody Nagels and Matthew Baker are going to march clear. They'll jump back to the high side. New leader at Talladega with 10 laps complete. Matthew Baker to the point.
Matthew Baker to the point as he turned and burned. The Baker is cooking right now, and he's got Cody Nagels welded to the back of that 5 ride. That was some big-time pushing, and that run was monstrous, and they were able to carry it all the way to the front as that inside lane gets ready to rock and roll here. Once again, you got the Interstate boys hooked up. They are rocking and rolling as we go on board to the GoPro cam. You can see the chaos on the racetrack. That 54 machine, Daniel Falkingham giving him the business, and here we come up the middle. We are turning this octane back up to 1,000 here as they're scattering back to the high side of the racetrack. Kyler Wynn blocking for everything he's got right now.
Yeah, and most people normally discourage trying to jump to the middle in these cars. Not Malik Ray, Kyler Wynn. They made it work right there, and that momentum got them all the way back to the front. And we continue to see all this shuffling for the lead. Baker's mom in the chat saying these guys need to settle down, or there's not going to be any cars left at the end of the race. And I'd have to completely agree right now. At the pace they're going, I mean, fellas, we still got just under 50 laps left in this race. Still a couple pit stops to be made. But that's just how important track position is to these guys. And they want to all have the lead going into that first pit stop. And whoa, watch out. Bosnez is in a tough spot. He's going to get split. Kyler Wynn will go to the outside with Garrett Maines. And Bosnez is going to learn the hard way that you got to commit to a line. Got shuffled up a little bit and then shuffled out. And he's going all the way to the back.
Yeah, he goes all the way off the racetrack. Now the 77 takes a bad push. He saves it once, twice. What a great save by the driver of that number 77 machine. The 54 going to go from the front all the way to the back as well. They're going to find themselves now back in 21st and 22nd position as we are 3 wide for the lead. Now Matthew Baker taking over the pushing role as he sends Falkingham out to the point for the first time this race.
And Matthew Baker has looked very, very stout tonight. Been trying to stay at the front. It's been working in. Falkingham, is this going to be another mistake? It is. Boy, I'll tell you what, Matt. We're seeing a lot of guys learn the hard way about getting split out here tonight. It's just everybody trying to kind of judge the runs, and if you're even off by just a little bit, you've got to make that business decision. Do you commit to that block? If you're not clear, it's going to wreck yourself, or you just kind of accept it and get split in the middle, go to the back. I think if this was late in the race, maybe, just maybe, we see Falkingham try to force that issue there and close the deal off, but doesn't do it there. And now you see Matthew Baker, Kyler Wynn, Malik Ray trioed up. They're going to work back to the high side. And now who's going to go to the bottom? Dalton Steele in the 41. That's the driver that's going to take it. Will he get a push from Michael Guest? I don't know. That 45 is trying to get some momentum. Boy, when they get there, they're going to have a huge head of steam on the back bumper, the 41.
These guys are conjuring these runs big time, hard, fast, and heavy. And, you know, to your point, anytime I've mixed the runs and business together, it's never been a good thing. But so far, we have been absolutely action-packed. This has been a nonstop, high-action thrill ride. From the drop of this green flag, Kyler Wynn has a big-time train at the high side of the racetrack. In fact, another group of cars just off of that lead pack now, but they should have enough. Whoa. Get skinny there at the bottom of the racetrack. That's that silver metallic and black Camaro there. I believe that's Cody Nagels in that 6 machine. He almost got pushed the wrong way, but he's going to gather that car back up underneath him. It's a big-time run up from the low side. I think Kyler Wynn's still going to edge up at the line as he has still scored the leader that time by.
Yeah, Kyler Wynn is still out in front on the outside. Cody Nagels, though, on the inside. Michael Guest now. He's going to start to try to make a little bit of noise of his own as trouble out back. Caution, big hit. Matthew Baker hard into the outside wall. Multiple other cars go spinning. We got a couple down by the inside wall. The 30 of James Wagner's in it. One of the series owners. Sponsor of tonight's race. That's a big hit for James Wagner. And then Matthew Baker, who you see the onboard view that we have with right now. He's got major damage as well, trying to get it back rolling here. But, I mean, smoke out of the back of both of those race cars. This is going to be 2 nights ended. As long as they do not indeed have a fast pair, which we don't believe they do. That is a really, really tough break for Matthew Baker and James Wagner. Let's go back and look at it. These two may have actually kind of been in a bit of the secondary wreck, so watch what happens here. They're 4 wide. You see Ethan Eckert, Jonathan Herbert, Kenny Reel, and Brock Westmoreland. The cars that are 4 wide, and where does this go wrong here? Let's first watch, we'll watch Ethan Eckert here and Jonathan Herbert as they're going through the turn. Oh, man, looks like Jonathan Herbert the first car to make contact, and it looked like almost maybe Herbert was trying to back out here. He was either backing out or he was just getting sucked back that quickly. But either way, watch what happens as the 87 is just about out of the picture here. There's some contact right there between him and Ethan, and then, no, let's back that up here. We don't want to speed it up too much for you here. So there's a little bit of contact right here. Ethan's going to split Herbert. That's kind of an aggressive move at this point in the race. I don't know if that was necessarily the best decision, but Eckert makes the decision. Herbert's going to get into him a little bit. And then now at this point, it's just a little bit of ping pong here. Herbert gets back up the track. Herbert's going to tag Ethan in the left rear. That's going to send Eckert down the track a little bit. Corrects back up. And this is where we're going to see some of the big hits. Eckert hard into the outside wall. And then this is where we kind of saw that secondary wreck. So right here for James Wagner, I'm not sure, did that destroy his race car? I'd be a little shocked if it did. No, it's going to be right there. Man, so the 30, kind of insult to injury there after Wagner had already gotten turned. Gets turned around a second time. And then, of course, we had that other incident with Matthew Baker, which we'll look at in just a moment. But, I mean, to me, Lee, just, you know, the wreck was not caused by Eckert. By no means am I implying that, but I just think this early, I don't like that move. I'm not a huge fan of it, but Eckert makes it. And then now it puts everybody in an awkward spot, just not enough room, and Herbert gets into him. It's on from there. Some big hits that follow, especially right here. Baker, bam, hard into the wall. Brock Westmoreland takes another shot, and then Wagner blocks it down. Not able to escape the inside wall either.
Yeah, and as a byproduct from this incident on the racetrack, Matthew Baker, who is having such a strong run here, I mean, he goes deep here. He goes full-blown kamikaze, World War II, Japanese Zero, up into the wall head on. I mean, watch this 5. I mean, he gets turned right here, and Bonsai he goes head on into the fence. You see the back of that Camaro stand up in the air. Thank God this is a simulation, because that was a big-time hit for Matt Baker.
Yeah, he's certainly in the virtual infield care center right now, but watch this here again I mean, this is just unlucky for Baker. He thinks he's through it, but Brock just trying to save it. Yeah, I mean, and that's some of the worst ones, too, as a driver. I'll tell you what, it just catches you off guard. You think, okay, I'm through it, and then all of a sudden, you get turned to the right, and there's just nothing you can do. He can't save it at that point. He's turned right into the outside wall. Brock Westmoreland, there's nothing he can do. He's trying to save the race car. It's just a really, really unfortunate set of circumstances for the way it played out. But, you know, again, you can all go back. Could have been avoided if they didn't get 4 wide. But then even after they did, could have been avoided if they could have just gone a little bit longer without contact. Herbert would have been clear out back, but instead he gets into Eckert. And the wreck's on from there. So as we go back up front, lights on the pace car still on, as we are about 17 of 60 laps through this race here tonight. Kyler Wynn being scored as your leader. Cody Nagels in second. And you've got Malik Ray back in third. Dalton Steele is in fourth. Jason Maines currently rounding out your top 5. Actually, excuse me, I believe that's Garrett Maines who currently rounds out your top 5. Yes, it is.
Falkingham's going to restart here in 6th, while Kenny Reel is going to occupy that 7th place position. Oh, we got some comers down pit road. Looks like Daniel Falkingham going to be coming down pit road. There's the Nash Brella, Kenny Reel, Jason Maines, Mark Vondell. A handful of cars here coming down for service. This should be just 2 cans of Sunoco racing fuel. I don't think we'll see some tire strategy, but you never know. Just as I say that, these drivers often prove me wrong. As you see, 2 tires, could be 4 for some of these guys. You're already down on pit road. That rubber means a whole heck of a lot here at Talladega. But since you're down there, why not throw some tires on that car for just a little reassurance, especially if they're going to be throwing it around out there like they have been since the drop of the green flag.
Absolutely, and I'm looking here. We're going to go back green with 19 of 60 laps complete. So what I think we saw all these stops for here, Matt, is I think it's getting close on fuel. I think that's exactly why we saw a lot of drivers top off. Now, of course, you're going under the assumptions that it's going to go green the rest of the way and that you can save in the pack. Sometimes that's a little bit easier said than done, but if you can make that happen, it would be close. You'd have to make it a total of, I believe, let's see, so we'll go back green here. That'll leave us exactly 42 laps to go. So 21 and 21, and we predicted that you can get about 20 on fuel. So I would say there's a very good possibility that they can make this on a one-stopper. We'll have to see what happens. As in the chat, Baker's mom throwing a little shade. Says going 4 wide was silly. Sorry, Baker. At least it wasn't Garrett Maines this time. And there you go. That was a little bit of a response to the incident that happened last night with Baker getting turned around late in the race on the outside. And so as we get ready to go back green, I mean, early favorites here, I think one of them has got to be the 82 of Kyler Wynn.
no doubt Kyler Wynn in that 20 machine has been absolutely stellar. And I thought Matthew Baker was going to be one to watch as well, but unfortunately, he got caught up. I mean, just an innocent bystander in that one. You got to always keep your eye on Cody Nagels. Chris Melton could be the dark horse in this race. He's going to restart here in that 5th place position, up 16 spots from where he started. Ethan Eckert, Kenny Reel, all inside the top 10 as we get ready to go back to it, Austin.
All right, pace car going to make that left turn. Field back in the hands of Kyler Wynn and Cody Nagels. As again, it'll be 19 of 60 laps complete. As we see the green flag now back in the air at Talladega. And it's a good restart for both lanes. Looks like the inside, though, maybe going to have a little bit more organization. Garrett, though, already tandemed up on the back bumper of Kyler Wynn in these cars. This first lap is all about how long can you stay tandem with the car in front of you. On the outside, so maybe a little bit more of a favored duo, but Dalton Steele, this is a driver that I think is going to be due for a money racing win here pretty soon because he has shown that he can get up here and he can hang with the big guys. And right now, Dalton Steele is having a great run as Ethan Eckert to the outside and fading quickly as they stay 2x2 through the pack here down the backstretch.
2x2 down the backstretch, and maybe he just decided to pull the safety Hail Mary there and bail to the back of the pack because he thinks another big one's coming, and you never know here at Talladega as we're still 2x2, side by side. Oh, almost a push gone wrong there to Cody Nagels. He has to quickly flick that steering wheel, get that car back underneath him. Is it stand-up drafting here at the front? Pick your poison. You like the high line or the low line? Is he is getting shoved through the heavens on the high side of the racetrack. Kyler Wynn, that is. But now the 6 of Nagels pulls along side by side. It is a 3x3 Noah's Ark situation here at the point.
And a couple drivers were trying to get that third lane really going, but it's not going to make any momentum, at least not at the front. It's going to kind of stay around the mid portions of the pack. There's the 45 of Michael Guest. Nowhere to go yet. Guest's going to have to pull up in line. There he goes. Michael Guest will grab that spot just in front of the 54 of Freddie Boston, as those two maybe going to have to try to work together to get back to the front. Look at Falkingham. He gets locked up with Malik Ray. Will they go to the high side, or will they stay where they are? Looks like for now they're content to ride. It's tucked in line on that outside. Cody Nagels on the bottom, still getting pushed by the 41 of Dalton Steele. The 49 of Chris Melton behind him. And I'll tell you what, for Chris Melton, one of the drivers that we talked briefly about pre-race, he's been making good progress so far here tonight, Matt. He's found himself up 14 spots from where he started this race at. And that is one of the drivers from Longwood, Florida. As now, here we go, 3 wide again. The middle's got some momentum, and it's Michael Guest leading the charge.
Michael Guest, no kidding, leading the charge, coming up the middle.
Whoa!
I gotta catch my breath. That was almost the big one again. And I don't think to use the middle here at Talladega. You know, Austin, usually when I'm out there on the racetrack, granted, I'm not at the level these guys are. If the middle, it's an automatic death wish to the back of this field. These guys try to use it to their advantage to take over the lead of this race. We've seen it multiple times here. Here comes the 54 now on the bottom side of the racetrack. Falkingham getting a big-time push there from Cody Nagels as they're teamed up again. But don't look now, but that Ryko machine, once again, there he is, Garrett Maines, lurking in that second position on that high lane. Those guys are really formed up now as they have the numbers on the top shelf of the racetrack.
And further back, look like Jason Maines, Kenny Reel were trying to get some momentum, maybe get back to the third lane, but there's nothing doing for him. Kyler Wynn still well in control of this field, but look at Garrett. Notice what he does is Kyler's going to get dumped off here into turn 3, but dropping down to grab a side draft. You got to be so careful making that move because the assumption is that everybody on back is going to follow you. If somebody doesn't and they try to jump to your outside, well, that just kills your momentum and leaves you in the dust. So it looks like it worked out pretty well for Garrett there. He was able to get back, teamed up with Kyler, and they're going to get another big run down the short chute off towards turn 1. We are officially a third of the way through this race. But remember, we're not going to expect that potential first green flag pit stop, at least with the caution we had, until probably right around, I'm thinking, Matt, it's going to be probably somewhere about lap 41 is where I'm looking to see that first green flag stop at.
Yeah, 41 to flat 42 is what I'm projecting as well up here in the PGR broadcast booth as we finally get a chance to possibly to catch our breath here for a minute. And just as I say that, we're going back to 3 wide racing. It's a 3-way affair. There's the 23 machine, Ork in the middle. He has help from the 4. The 54 is going to slide right up in front of Christopher Melton, just barely able to squeeze that car in line just in time is Kyler Wynn. currently has clean air and is trying to set sail here at Talladega. But hey, not going to be an easy ride for him up here, as hey, you know, tandem draft racing here, these cars, it's impossible to check out and pull away from the competition. As we go back on board now with Cody Nagels, this side-by-side racked and packed at speeds over 200 miles an hour. You see the bump drafting here as he comes up, gives another shot back to that Toyota-powered XSC Camry right in front of him.
Yeah, and you keep watching all these runs back and forth, inside and outside. If we were in the Xfinity cars or even the trucks, you wouldn't see as much of this. You kind of see once we had kind of a certain group established up front, they would start to be able to kind of control the lanes to a degree of you don't see the other lines making these big runs. But right now, what you have with these next gens is you get 3, maybe even 4 good cars together. Once they get locked up, they can make a charge all the way to the front. The hardest thing, though, for this inside right now is going to be breaking through the side draft that you know Kyler Wynn and a couple others are going to make if Falkingham gets anywhere close to getting clear. And as they work by one of the lap cars there, that's Ethan Eckert. Kyler Wynn not having to worry about it right now. Garrett has gotten into a rhythm, maintaining temps well. I think for Cody Nagels, he's either going to need a cool recycle or they're going to have to figure out something different. I just don't think that 6 has the temps to try to push the 54 to the front right now.
Yeah, I don't, especially as we're still by my standards early in this one. 3 wide, just around that 10th place position. There's the 23 stuck in the sucker hole again. Oh, as we got a car on the top side completely blinked out. That's the worst thing you want in sim racing. As I think he is now back in as that Mustang now is going to point it up to the top shelf, but he may have lost the draft because that one car blinked out. I didn't get a chance to see who it was, but as we go back up here to the front, big time shot there to the back of Daniel Falkingham on the high side of the racetrack. I mean, look at this, Austin. I mean, these guys are north of 200 miles an hour, just running mere inches off each other at times, and they are making this look easy. But as you and I know, it is anything but out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, they are absolutely flying. You said north of 200, maybe even north of 205 here at some points, depending on how much pushing and shoving you're doing, but still 2x2. And I said I didn't think the inside would get back, but they started to reorganize, and Nagels has done the job to get Falkingham back even with the top 3. Still has to try to get a little bit more if he's going to want to get him clear. Now we see Dalton Steele jump down to the middle. He won't get any help. And that 41 car has a one-way ticket now to the back. He is not going to have any help, at least not until Freddie Bosnez is able to get to his back bumper. And those two are going to jump back to the high side. 27, it'll be 28 laps complete when we cross the line next time, as we continue to get closer and closer to the halfway point in this race. Showing you the dashboard speeds. Watch what they run here down the backstretch. Garrett Main's going to get Kyler Wynn up to just about 200 miles an hour, not pushing for all he needs to right now. As we again take another look at the weather outside, and main thing to notice is just the track temp on the bottom right there, 119 degrees. So still warm enough that as tires continue to wear out, these race cars will get a little bit tougher to handle. And it's kind of an interesting way that you drive them, Matt. Unlike a lot of the other cars where you just lift and that kind of helps the car not get as tight, these are different. It's almost as if you lift in the corner with these cars, that's what tends to get them a little bit tight. But at the same time, you stay in the throttle too long on old tires without lifting just a little bit in certain scenarios, it has a tendency to get loose as well. So the next gen, a very fun car to drive, but also a very interesting car to drive, especially as you get late in the run. And boy, further back, it looked like Nash Brambilla just slammed the door on Malik Ray, but he's going to have a big run now on the outside. He'll go back to the middle. A couple others will follow, and we are back to 3x3, but we're going to have some new leaders up on this high lane. Michael Guest, Malik Ray, and up top now, Nagels, Falkingham, Kyler Wynn, and Garrett are going to cover.
They're going to cover up to the point as Daniel Falkingham retakes the lead here in that Camry in the 54 machine. You said Cody Nagels had to let that Camaro cool down for a couple laps. I think he did just that. Decided those temps were optimal to make a little push to the front, and they have done so as they now command the outside lane. Austin, I can't get over the willingness for these drivers to utilize that third lane. Did you see that 23 of Nash, his car? It was everywhere but pointed straight. I thought that was going to be another big-time wreck, as that driver was quick with the hands, able to get that car pointed straight. But, man, that's the hornet's nest there, right around that 23 machine. 3 wide, getting a big-time push there from the 4 as well. And as you said, speeds at over 205 miles an hour at times. And now the best looking car out on the racetrack. He's got Spitfire wheels all over that thing. Beautiful metallic colors. Brian Hennings now carries the torch here in Earnhardt Country. He leads at Talladega.
Yeah, well, Ken McCullough Jr. must not have liked his paint scheme too much because he left him right as they crossed the start-finish line, jumped to the outside, and all that momentum sends Brian Hennings back to now right around 10th. After being in the lead less than a straightaway ago, Garrett's going to stay on the aggression here as they'll now go back to the high side. Kyler Wynn's going to move up as well. Ken McCullough Jr. and Chris Melton, that duo, going to stick to the high side for now. And I mean, really what you just notice here is you can make a two-car tandem work too, apparently. And oh, look at that. Ken McCullough Jr. tried to make the move to get clear the inside. Too much of a run, wasn't able to get down in time, and now he's in the middle, and he'll shuffle to the back as well. But what I was getting ready to say is you saw Ken McCullough Jr. get to the front there with Brian Hennings by tandeming up on the inside, and they were able to get clear of all the different cars that were lined up on the outside. So it's doable with just about anybody as long as you've got the right help to make it happen.
Yeah, if you're fearless behind the wheel and you have all the faith in the world in that pusher and you can stay bumper locked just like the 7 and the 45 are doing right now, you can get those big time runs dialed up
on the bottom.
Carry it on the bottom right now. The 74 coming right back to the point. Remember, he got left hung out to dry about 2 laps ago, and he now finds himself back up on the bottom lane leading this thing. He's got Nash right behind him in that 23 machine. There's the 54 as well. So these guys, you're seeing comers and goers in Austin. The other thing I think why we're seeing this big time action is the 74. Brian Hennings just got put in the fence, and here we go. It's the mad scatter through the grass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars take evasive action through the infield here. There's the 6. Is what just happened here at Talladega.
Well, Nash Brambilla got turned, and it all started with maybe a little bit too much blocking from Brian Hennings, but I think Brian maybe felt like he kind of had enough too, everybody leaving him out. Says, you know, I make this move up, trying to control lanes. Not really a huge block. I don't know, we'll have to look back at it on replay, but they try to go a lane higher. Brian says, yeah, I don't think so. Tries to make the block, but just wasn't quite clear. Starts to stack them up, and it leads to this chaos out back for Nash Brambilla. It's a tough break, too, for the 23, who was part of the pushing effort that got this 74 clear. And so let's watch Brian Hennings first. This is as they come off the corner here. Brian moves up right there, but Michael Guest says, yeah, I don't think so, and he jumps a lane higher. Brian sees that, and Brian's going to try to make a block. Problem is he's just not quite clear on that second one. Gets him into the wall, and then Malik, seeing that, looks like tries to dive to the inside initially, and Malik right here, you're gonna see he's gonna initially get into Nash right there. He gets into him again, and that second hit is what ultimately turned Nash Brambilla around. So it looked like they would have saved it if Malik would have stayed in line, but obviously Malik, assuming there that they're gonna wreck, starts to move down, and Nash was moving up too, for what it's worth here. You see the 23 is moving up at the same time as the 7's coming down, but either way, just a little bit of contact right there, and he's made a lot of crazy saves on 210. You really, really wondered there, would he somehow be able to do the Houdini act again and keep from hitting Nash Brambilla after they first made contact, but just not quite able to do it. Doesn't look like anything too major. I think Brambilla obviously takes the worst hit, but it almost looked like he had a little bit of time there to get woed up a little bit before he went into that outside safer barrier. Got tagged again by Freddie Bosnez. And then, as you noted, Matt, all the cars that had to kind of scatter through the grass.
Yeah, just an unfortunate set of circumstances here. All, again, kicking it off a late block, or a block gone wrong, if you will. And, you know, from Malik's standpoint, if I'm in his position, you see 2 cars about to make contact with each other, put themselves in the fence, your natural instinct is to turn down out of harm's way. I don't think that was intentional. I don't think he meant to get into the 23 there. I mean, if you look right here, of course, I'm going to do the same thing in this situation. If you lock the brakes up, you're going to get ran over from behind. Everyone knows that that's in this field right now. So you try to put your car in a place where you can get through the chaos. Unfortunately, there was a Ford Mustang there as well, and contact was made that sent him up the hill here. God, that's pain. Go ahead.
I was going to say, looks like Kyler had some contact too. I didn't see that initially, but Kyler also got into Nash as he got turned sideways. Don't think it was any major damage for Kyler, but certainly still something to note as we give you one more look here from the blimp cam, and watch it one more time as they start to move up the track. Hennings just trying to slam the door, not quite clear, and he's lucky that didn't end up worse for him. And Michael Guest was getting ready to lead the 74. He was not going to help him after that block right there. So Brian Hennings maybe not doing himself any favors with Michael Guest, but lucky to hold on in that one. And as we get ready to go back green, looks like it's now 33 of 60 laps complete. The lights on the pace car currently still on at the moment. And so with that, as it looks like the field currently working their way off of turn number 2, we're going to take another break. Actually, it'll be our first break of the night, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us here at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got
The monkey has pride!
this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. As we get ready to get back to green flag racing, you see the lights on the pace car are off. And so Michael Guest, Garrett Maines going to lead us back to green. Chris Melton alongside Kenny Reel in row 2. And then it's Jason Maines and Freddie Bosnez back in row number 3. 34, 60 laps complete. So we are officially over the halfway point in this one. And that'll set us up with exactly 26 laps to go as we grab the green flag right here. That means that we still have at least one green flag pit stop on the table, but no longer expecting 2. And if we get another caution anytime after about lap 40, that will eliminate the possibility of a green flag pit stop for the remainder of this race. Good restart for the first 2 rows. In fact, looks like just about the entire pack this time. Going to get through the gears pretty clean. Nobody with any issues just yet. As you see Michael Guest in the 45 on the inside, trying to get a push here from Chris Melton. Meanwhile, already, look at the third lane. It's getting going, and guess who? Kyler Wynn, watch out. Brock Westmoreland going to receive a big push right there. Man, I'll tell you what, they had so much momentum that Kyler, I think, maybe even had to let out of it just a little bit to not potentially turn Brock around, but they're going to get lined back up. They got to do it quickly, though, because here comes the inside through 3 and 4.
The inside from 3 and 4, they got some serious muster going on the bottom of the racetrack. And look at Chris Melton up 18 positions. The silent assassin out there tonight. We haven't talked about him that much, but he is pushing all over the back of Michael Guest there on the bottom of the racetrack. The one's going to come up the hill. And just as I say that, the 49. And oh, this is where it gets ugly.
Oh, they're going to split Guest. Wow.
As you said, they big time split there. But Guest didn't force the issue there. I mean, he just backed out of the throttle. You've seen the 45 just waiting for an opening to appear out there on the racetrack. You send it down to the bottom. And this is probably the most, I want to say, uniform and professional racing that we've seen out here probably since the drop of the green flag here. As how many times throughout the course of these heat races in this main event have we seen a move gone wrong when someone gets left to hang out to dry there and just try to force that race car in a hole that just will not fit that machine? Man, talking about some big-time side drafting up at the point as we go near the back. Chris Melton went from the front all the way to the back. He'll be up here again before this race is over, as the 45 now being piloted by Michael Guest carries the torch here, getting a big-time push again from that Ryko machine. I'll tell you what, that Ryko car has been fast and furious since the start of this thing. I mean, look at the aggression. Look at the confidence that driver has. He feels like Superman out there right now, and he is doing anything and everything that he wants out there on the racetrack. Oh, my God.
Yeah, he is doing everything he wants. You just saw that with that move right there, but he makes it work. Falkingham going to line him up for a push, but, you know, the move that you saw with Guest getting split a couple laps ago, I mean, it worked out. He got picked up without going too far back, but that's the risk that I think you're going to see for drivers trying to make a decision on if you side draft later in this race. You know, if you're on the outside, you got a bunch of teammates behind you, you can afford to do it. But if you don't, you worry about getting split. And as I speak of split, Garrett got split, but that time it was to the middle. They are back to being all over the places. They're almost 4 wide off of turn 2. Nagel's stuck in the middle with Mastretta. We got one blinking on the outside. Garrett's going to try to move back up. Meanwhile, the front 4 trying to pull away, and the chaos right back to where it was before we had that last caution.
Yeah, we are set, primed, ready to go again as we are offset formation here. That's the diamond, as Dave Regal often calls it, and usually bad things happen out there on the racetrack when we see that formation, but these drivers do get that cleaned up. Bottom lane trying once again to get some mojo under the hood, but it's the high side of the racetrack, and Michael Guest out front. Another big moon all the way from the top shelf of the racetrack to the bottom. The 54 is going to do the same thing. That's Malik Ray. Ray Day at the front of this thing. Almost took a bad push there. These guys have got it turned up to 1,000 again here at Talladega, and I am loving every minute of this up in the booth. This is absolutely ludicrous right now.
Yeah, it certainly is, and man, I still wonder what's going to give here. Something's going to have to at some point. They can't do this for another 21 laps when we cross the line this time. On the bottom, Chris Melton still on the point. Up top, it's Malik Ray as he gets a big shove from Garrett Maines. Nash Brambilla, he's going to maybe take a peek back to the middle. Brock Westerland, that is a teammate. Not just yet, though. They're going to stay in line for now. 22 laps, make it 21 laps to go now as they cross the line that time. Malik Ray still on the point. They'll start to single file out just briefly again. And now we start to get into a question of strategy. What strategy do you go with here for fuel mileage? I mean, you know, you have kind of 2 options. You either run this out, try to pit with a lot of the other groups, or maybe you try to kind of deviate from the rest of the pack and pit as soon as that fuel window opens, which I think if you include overtimes is probably about 2 to 3 laps from now. I think we're going to see most people try to go in late, Matt. I don't think we'll see anybody try the early strategy, but it's certainly up for grabs if anybody wants to try it.
That certainly is, and obviously a caution would change that strategy completely if we get one here sooner than later. But I agree with your logic there 100%, Austin. But I'll tell you what, these drivers here in this field right now, I don't see any type of fuel saving going on, and I don't project we'll see any the way this race is ran. And for the first time, we've actually had 2 cars at the front of this thing. Falkingham and Cody Nagels kind of broke away there momentarily, but just as I say that, Malik Ray had a big-time run, had to take it to the middle of the racetrack, and now they have a 3rd lane formed up, and they are screaming up the middle, the parting of the Red Seas, and look who's doing the pushing once again. It's that Ryko machine right on point, right where you want them, saying, give me the business, buddy, let's go. And they are locked on that middle lane, trying to get the lead from that 54 on the high side.
Yeah, it's been pretty eminent all night that Malik Ray has not wanted to push Cody Nagels or Daniel Falkingham, for the most part at least. He has split them, trying to go to the front every opportunity that he's had to do so. Now we see Bosnez and Brambilla with a bit of a push. Brambilla, watch for him to jump down low here into the corner. There he goes. Malik Ray is going to line him up now for a big shot. The 7 will get tandemed up with the 23 through the middle of the corner. Will they jump up a lane? That's the next question. Doesn't look like it, at least not yet. Meanwhile, on the high side, Falkingham and Nagels still tandemed up as well. Looks like they've also paired up with the 3rd teammate for Nightmare Esports, Alex Hill. He blinks out just a little bit, and oh man, he reappeared at a bad time. That 77 had lost a ton of speed.
Well, that's the other thing, too. When you blink out, you also lose the benefit of the draft. So when you come in, sometimes you're like a lawn dart compared to what the other speeds these cars are running. That's what we've seen right there. So great situational awareness by all those drivers to take countermeasures to avoid that from being another incident out there on the racetrack. Oh, we just ping-ponged off of each other. That was the 82, I believe. Oh, some more contact. I don't know how these guys are saving these race cars at times. Their driving is off the chain at times. And Garrett Maines, I mean, we haven't even talked about him yet, and here he is leading this thing in the 2.
See Cody Nagels back to the bottom. He also wants no part of trying to push Kyler Wynn. Meanwhile, up front, all that chaos led to a little bit of disorganization. Oh, whoa, watch out. Whoa. Trouble out back. Is that going to be a wreck? Or do they all save it? So far, so good. Nash Brambilla and Joshua McCullough, what a save by both of those race cars to hold on. We're going to keep it green. But, man, was that a close call for Brambilla and Joshua McCullough.
I'm still trying to scrape myself off the floor of the broadcast booth. I don't know how those guys saved that. I mean, we have seen some of the most incredible saves in one race tonight. I mean, watch this. I mean, you had two guys put in 45 degrees in the wrong direction here. Watch the 23 and the 05 here as we zoom in on this.
I think it's just a little bit of offset pushing here is my guess, or a big checkup. And maybe the latter of those two choices is, yep, big checkup. Brambilla is going to get into Cody trying to check up before he does. Josh gets him in the rear, and then right here, that secondary incident, or secondary contact, I should say, is really what starts to get him out of shape. And then, as you said it, Matt, I mean, this is just ridiculous. You don't save a race car when it's that far sideways, yet somehow these two found a way to do it, and all while not being on 210 either. That was a heck of a save for those two drivers. As we go back up front now, just 16 laps to go. You've got Garrett Maines out on the point, currently leading the way. Michael Guest gearing up for potentially another big push right here. And now this is where potentially, I don't know, Matt, we'll have to see, but this is where sometimes you start to see that single file line all start to kind of work together, because nobody wants to jump out to make that move. Everybody gets nervous that you're going to go to the back, but they may not have to worry about that because here comes Nagels and Falkingham. They're not worried about it, but as they get to the front, watch for that outside to jump down here and try to maybe make a side draft, something to slow these two up on the bottom.
Yeah, those two cars are hooked up on the bottom, and they have lit the afterburner. And I mean, wow, that was an impressive drive from the 54 there in the 6 of Cody Nagels doing all the work behind him. But just as soon as they get to the front, they cannot stay welded together. Almost looked like COT tandem draft action right there. And just as quick as they got to the front, that one Rayco machine able to pass him by on the bottom lane is now it's going to be the 1, the 45, and then the 7 there is of Malik Ray as well. And you see the momentum shift out there on the racetrack. It's almost like a seesaw or a slinky with the way that it shifts back and forth and it pulses. And just, you know, you got to be at the right place at the right time is a big part of that. And Daniel Falkingham seems to have that timed out beautifully. His first wave of pit stops is these cars all scattering, trying to get down to pit road speed. You don't want any mistakes, no penalties here. Is clean entry for all of these drivers here as the pit lane becomes the hottest place in the joint right now.
Yeah, and I saw a couple of big lockups there, but I think everybody was okay getting down to speed. Now you just got to make sure that you obviously don't slide through your pit box, as it looks like the group that came into pit here was most of the Coke/Contender Series drivers, all coming in together. And then we'll have to see who else went in with him. I think it was Alex Hill. You see Kyler Wynn there as well. Yep, sure enough. Joshua McCullough, along with Ken McCullough Jr. and Alex Hill. And, ooh, Alex a little bit late. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to stick with these guys. We'll have to wait and see. Either way, back up front, a couple of the Nightmare eSports drivers, single file. I would expect them to bring it down this time. And sure enough, here they come. Can they get in just as clean as the first group did? Couple of lockups, but it looks like no issues yet. Oh, man. Oh. Kenny Reel trying to save it. He does. You wonder, though, did that cause either him or Jason Maines an issue there? I don't think so, but you can certainly see, Matt, these guys are getting all they can on the entry to the pits.
You have to. You have to be on the attack. You let up for 1 second. That could cost you this race. Kenny had to reel that car back in literally right there. Hey, you're even saving these things on pit road. 54 down and away. What great execution in the pits. He's going to lead this group out. Oh, they're 3 wide behind him. They want to get single file as quick as possible. Now we're going to find out which group did it better. Who gets on and off pit road the best here should cycle back to the lead. As we go back to the instant replay, something went amiss here for Maines.
Just gets loose.
put the hammer down a little too hard there on those cold tires and had to reel that race car back in.
Yeah, and as you talked about battle up front, we do still have a couple of drivers that have not pit yet, but that group that came out second, you can see they did get overlapped by the drivers that pit first. So now the next question, of course, is when will Brian Hennings pit, who right now runs with Ethan Eckert? Doesn't look like he'll bring it in just yet. On an offset strategy, of course, not really running so much for position right now. But look at this breakaway that we're setting up for right here. You've got 3 up front right now, make it 4 rather. They're going to tag on at least 2, I think probably 3 more. I don't know for Kenny Reel and Nash Brambilla. It's going to be close. I think if Brambilla can stay tandem with Kenny Reel here, I think they will. But if they break up at all, that's where you're going to run into some issues. It's going to be close. But once they get there, let's say those 2 do tag on, that's going to be 10 cars. Just a 10-car lead lap, or excuse me, 10-car lead pack is kind of caught my attention in the middle of this here was Matt Lee, who had an issue. This was in the middle of the trial. Oh, no, wow, this was way earlier. What happens here for Matt Lee? Let's watch this from the chopper view. This is an odd incident.
This is a push gone wrong here. A rare mistake tonight.
Whoa, man. For Chris Melton, he was inches away from getting right hooked into the outside fence. That was so close. And then you see Matt Lee right there getting it off track quick enough that did not draw the caution. But for Matt Lee, that's just kind of like kicking, kind of when you kick someone while they're down, already had damage, was looking for a break. Instead, he gets another bad one, and it's going to end his chances pretty much in total here tonight as we go back to the front where things are a little bit calmer. They're single file for these first 10 cars.
And, you know, I was wondering at what point in time of the race where we see things just settle down a little bit. And I think we've hit that point of the race now due to that round of green flag pit stops. Brian Hennings, Malik Ray, Kyler Wynn, Michael Guest, Garrett Maines, your top 5. And quite frankly, 5 drivers in my mind that I think would be near the front of this piece or should be.
And even if Brian Hennings was on a bit of a different strategy here, it's not going to matter because this group is catching the duo that he's pretty much in. And yeah, for him and Ecker, they are going to get absolutely flown by once that lead pack actually gets up here. And so right now, with just 10 laps to go, it's time to start maybe setting up what moves you want to make. I think that, you know, now we're at the point where this lead pack is small enough where I really wouldn't be too surprised, Matt, if they wait till the last lap to make these moves because, you know, you figure it's only 10 cars deep. So then you got to ask yourself the question of, okay, who's working with who? I think these front 4 are pretty much working together. I'd be interested to see if they make a move on each other at the end. But then you get back to the 54 of Falkingham. He's working with Cody Nagels. That leaves Freddie Bosnez, Kenny Reel, and Nash Brambilla kind of as the 3 odd men out. And that leaves them as the wild cards as well. And you got to wonder, where are they going to go? Who are they going to go with? And when are they going to try to make that move? Will they make it with 1 lap to go? Or will they try to make it with maybe 2 or 3 laps to go?
I think he hit the nail on the head the first time. I think all these guys, they continue to run single file here until the final lap. Well, why would you do that? If you get side-by-side racing, that can tend to slow you down. Let another group of cars throw themselves into the mix of the equation. So you stay single file. That limits the amount of drivers that have the shot to go for the win. Number 1, 2, it lowers the risk of having an incident on the racetrack. And I think, you know, for those 2 reasons alone here, we're going to see these guys be patient in line. However, in the background, though, you betcha there's probably deals being made right now. Who wants to be my friend, if you will, is the 12 peels off down pit road here. A little bit of damage there as we send it back to the point. And as I was saying, deals are being made here in the background. You got to have a battle buddy. You have to have a friend out there on the racetrack. So while it looks calm right now out there on the competition side, I guarantee you those radios are buzzing with deals being made as we speak, setting up for the final lap of this race.
Would not be surprised at all. And we'll be coming to 7 laps to go next time around. And I mean, really, for Kyler Wynn here, he's in prime position, but he's got a teammate in front. So like I said, I just don't see him making the move. Guest and Garrett are probably still in payout spots, so it's either going to be they both go or neither of them go is my general thought. At the same time, maybe one of these 4 kind of acts as the sacrificial lamb if that group of nightmare cars along with the wild cards out back try to make a jump to the outside. Maybe one of them tries to throw that block, see if they can cover it, maybe get to the front that way. With 7 laps to go, fuel's not going to be a concern. It's just going to be all about setting up for that move. And this is where also I think if you're Kyler Wynn, Michael Guest, the other big thing you need to do is save your temps. Nobody's pushing the issue, so there's no reason to do it yourself. If you're Kyler, you are controlling the pace that Malik Ray is running, so you want to make sure that you keep those engine temps cool. I think the idea, Matt, is that you want to have enough saved up so that when we get to that white flag, you can tag on and try to tandem your guy for the entirety of the lap, or at least probably 3/4 of it. Anything less than that, if you've got anybody in the back that is saving temps, they might have the advantage. As you saw further in the back there, Brian Hennings, he'll peel off now, and that'll make that lead pack one car smaller, as it is now just 9 cars in this lead group fighting for the win here with 6 laps to go at Talladega.
9 drivers with their hat in the ring for an opportunity to punch their ticket here at Talladega. You know, to your point about keeping these engines cool enough, you go back a couple months before, I'm not sure if it was the most recent update or the update before last, but it really changed how hard and aggressively you could push in this next gen. Previously, you could stay connected for about, a lap, if not more. And the minute you broke out of that tandem draft, the temps would really start to cool off rapidly. Not anymore. It takes a hot minute for these cars to cool back down once you get them heated up. And you can see the aggression is probably the lowest we've seen all race long, just for that reason. The one driver I think is in a great position right now, it's that Rayco Rocket that's in that 4th place position. That guy has just been like Superman out there on the racetrack, and I have him circled to get it done here in Earnhardt country. However, anything and everything can happen here. That's why we're up top in the booth calling this race tonight, as Malik Ray continues to lead as the calm before the storm presents itself here at Talladega.
And speaking again on the temps that you were talking about, Matt, saying how these cars are harder to cool, another thing with it is they kind of have a bubble. If you're not tandem drafting, you're still aero pushing, and that bubble, you really don't cool at all, it feels like, if you're within that bubble. So the best way to cool if you're still in line is to really, really back off. I'm talking maybe even half a car length's worth, which Kyler's trying to do here. Look how much he backs off of Malik Ray. He's just trying to get all the temps he can, gives him a little shove down the straights, and then stays in line, but just backs it off through the corners. Ethan Eckert going to try to join this group, maybe play a part at the end as well, even though he's not on the lead lap, but nothing yet. I don't know if Eckert's going to be able to quite hang on, as we are now just 3.5 laps away from crowning a winner here tonight. The Madness Money Racing Series for Roughneck Racing. By the way, I do want to give a brief shout out to a couple of the sponsors making it happen for Roughneck Racing and their new Madness Money Racing Series that we've started up on Wednesdays, and they also have races on Sundays if you're interested in those. But James Wagner's Welding, of course, one of the primary sponsors for Roughneck Racing. We appreciate everything he does for the series and for PGR eSports as well. McCullough Motorsports Money Racing also on board, helping these guys with some of the stuff that they need. RMR maybe helping with some of the paint, some of the flyers as well. Those are the 3 primary sponsors, at least right now, for Roughneck Racing. I'm sure they'd be happy to take more if anybody's interested. But again, a big thank you to all of them. And with that, it is now crunch time. 3 laps to go. Nobody has made the jump out of line yet, but what I'm starting to see a little bit further back now, Matt, some experimenting. Look at some of these guys setting up some runs. Falkingham, Nagels, further back, they're starting to spread out. The more they spread out, the more of a run they can get when they get back together. So I think they're just kind of trying to figure out what's going to work, what isn't. But they're running out of time here as we're going to be coming to just 2 laps to go.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go popsicle sticks in the air, as Austin just said. That is 2 laps to go here as we come through the tri-oval. And right now it's like we're in the eye of a Category 5 hurricane. All is calm, but not for long. And some of those drivers in the back, you've seen falling back. They're trying to figure out how long is it going to take me to get to the front. Just trying to see how long it takes to generate that momentum to get that car in a position where they can do something with it out there on the racetrack. And I'll tell you what, Austin, as crazy as this night's been, this feels like the first time we've actually had a chance to catch our breath up here in the booth. But we're going to get ready to go full send as we're coming to 1 lap to go this time by.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what they ended up deciding on the official payouts, but if it's, a little bit less than what initially planned, and actually looking at it, looks like the payouts here tonight are still top 5. That means just over half of this group's going to be going home with money, the rest with nothing. Here we go, white flag in the air, 1 lap to go at Talladega.
One lap in Talladega as Malik Ray looks to score another money victory here tonight in prime time. But here comes the inside lane. They have hit the afterburner, and the 6 of Cody Nagels is doing all the pushing on that Interstate Batteries TRD sponsor number 54. It's a John 4 special down the backstretch. 2x2 side by side, 203 miles an hour into the 3 and 4 complex. The 54 is going to surge ahead lightly here, but watch for that third car, that third lane on the high side of the racetrack to tandem up and get a run on the high side of the racetrack as they come out of 4 for the final time.
And here comes Brambilla and Garrett looking up top. They're not going to have enough. It'll be between the inside and the outside. Malik first, Falkingham. Cody gets loose. That's enough for Malik. Malik Ray will take the win at Talladega.
Ray Day at Talladega. What a finish. You've seen the chaos, the pandemonium, the 3 wide racing on the final lap. But Malik Ray able to strong arm the competition and get it done when the nighttime is the right time to win it in prime time. Malik Ray is your winner. Kyler Wynn and David Falkingham round out your top 3. A solid performance from Michael Guest. That, those top 4 drivers, my God, that was anyone's race to win on the final lap. But sometimes the cream rises to the top. Malik Ray gets a big payday here with another thrilling finish here in Earnhardt country. What a race tonight, Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, that finish kind of took me back to some of the classic super speedway racing where everybody's single file. You're setting up your one-shot move for the last lap, and it worked pretty well for Falkingham and Cody. They just needed to keep that third car tandemed up in the form of Freddie Bosnes. They couldn't quite do it, but it still pays off for one of them as Falkingham was still able to finish up in that third spot. And then, of course, Brambilla and Garrett Maines making that charge out of nowhere on the last lap. They almost got back in it, but ultimately it was Malik Ray who was able to win it, and that was thanks to the push there from Kyler Wynn after you saw, looked like just a little bit of looseness there on the inside with the big push that we saw. But, man, Malik Ray, you said Ray Day, boy, he is raking it in right now. Malik Ray has won a lot of money here over the course of the last couple months, and he'll continue that trend here tonight. I believe he's taking home, in fact, we have official payouts here. He's taking home $190 here tonight. Well, actually, that was last week. Tonight he's taking home $175 for that race win. So that's the good news there for Malik Ray, and then good podium finishes, as you mentioned, that for Kyler and Daniel Falkingham as well. And so as Malik continues to burn it down, take a look at the rest of your finishing results here tonight. And as we continue to await those results to show up, I think we may still have a couple drivers finishing up. There we go. All right. So Malik Ray, again, your race winner. Kyler Wynn and Daniel Falkingham round out the podium. Then it's Michael Guest back in 4th, Freddie Bosnes 5th, Cody Nagels in 6th, with Garrett Maines finishing in 7th. Nash Brambilla 8th, Kenny Reel is in 9th, and rounding out your top 10 is Ken McCullough Jr.
And again, my graphics are still not working here, Austin. If you could take us the rest of the way through, I'd appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. And finishing in the 11th spot tonight is Joshua McCullough. Chase Mistretta back in 12th. Dalton Steele 13th with Jason Maines in 14th. Then you've got Alex Hill finishing 15th. Looks like Michael Menchaca brings home a 16th place finish. Chris Melton back in 17th. 18th is Brock Westmoreland with Brian Hennings and Pete Dillon rounding out your top 20. Ethan Eckert finishes 21st. Matt Lee 22nd with Mark Vondell in 23rd. Matthew Baker 24th. Jonathan Herbert 25th. James Wagner in 26th with John Darnell rounding out the field. He finishes in 27th. All right, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Going to start first here tonight with your race winner, Malik Ray. Malik, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yo, how you doing, man?
Good. Well, I was just talking to you last night. You won a lot of money in Tuesday Night Thunder, and you win a whole lot more here tonight in Roughneck Racing. And I'll tell you what, that was a very calm finish for some of the things that we have seen over the course of the last few weeks. What was going through your head? What was the setup? How were you communicating with Kyler? All for that last lap move. We saw the charge from Nightmare Esports, but it looked like maybe just wasn't quite enough on the inside.
Yeah, man. I just got the best teammates in the business. That's really all there is to it. I mean, like I wouldn't be like up front of these races like if it wasn't for them. Like, you know, like obviously with Kyler and Garrett, and Mike. I mean, they make it, you know, whatchamacallit, they make the races like, you know, like a whole lot, I would say, calmer. So like I help that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, we saw a bit of a heat race earlier to kind of give everybody a little bit of a practice for what we were going to expect, but it still seems like the next gen, there's just so many things. We saw at one point she got split out 3 wide. With the PGR 500 coming up in just a couple months, is there still things that you're trying to learn with the way this car races at some of these super speedways?
Yeah. It's not really necessarily like with the car. It's kind of just like who's working with who. I just like to know like who's all with who, so that way like if I do make a move, like, you know, like I'll know if I have help versus if, you know, like I'm not gonna have help. It's really just small stuff like that.
That small stuff adds up, and you continue to get even better as the races go on. Well, hey, before we let you head out, Malik, congrats on obviously the win. Is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Shout out to Kyler and Garrett and Mike, and especially Garrett there because he was being a team player there at the end. So, you know, like I really appreciate that from him a lot.
And Malik, thank you for talking to us again. Congrats on that race win, and hopefully we'll see you again next Wednesday.
All right, thank you, man.
All right, and now that's going to bring us to your second place finisher here on the night. Matt Mettler stands by with Kyler Wynn.
Kyler Wynn, Matt up top in the booth. You got a copy there, boss.
Yes, sir.
Well, man, you put on one heck of a show tonight, up 13 spots from where you started. And it seemed like your mentality from the drop of the green flag is you were out here to make a statement. We've seen you making big-time moves all night long. It seemed like you could do anything you wanted with that race car. Ultimately, on the last lap, you come up just a little bit short with a phenomenal second-place finish. Walk me through your run tonight.
Yeah, man, it was great. You know, it makes it easy when you have like 3 of the best you're working with. Led the most laps, stayed up front. Obviously, I led the most laps because I had 3 teammates behind me, but I think we led like 40 laps as a team, so that's a success. You know, my mentality in these races is staying up front, doing whatever you can to be up front. Lead every lap per se, not actually, but just staying up front because you're, in my opinion, you're the safest up front. With how unpredictable these cars are, the runs you get, there's the mid pack, and even the back is kind of dangerous.
Yeah, you're certainly right. And we've seen that, you know, from the start of the heat races, just how dangerous the back of the pack could be. But you were the bull out there, and you could clearly see how you were determined to keep that car at the point and lead just as much as you did tonight. You mentioned your teammates. How important and how critical are they out there on the racetrack, and to attribute to the performance that you threw up tonight?
Oh, it's like 98% is them and us as a group. Like the communication was on key. You know, it helps when you have all 4 of us are very experienced at this type of racing. Yeah, just great teamwork. So it makes it easy.
Yeah, certainly. When you got a battle buddy or a group of drivers out there that are highly experienced, it really makes the difference at times. And certainly that was the case this evening. Matt, again, tip of the hat to you. What a run by you tonight. I mean, that was high-octane thriller. You about had me on the floor of the broadcast booth several times this evening. Just an electrifying drive by yourself. Before I cut you loose, man, who do you want to thank who helps you get it done?
Just Malik Ray, Michael Guest, and Garrett Maines there.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. The 20 comes up just a little bit short, but you wouldn't know it if you watched this broadcast. Looked like Superman out there at times, doing anything and everything he could out there to keep that machine at the point. Ultimately comes up just a little bit short, but has a ton of momentum on his side rolling into next week. That is the one and only Kyler Wynn, sending it back up top to you, Austin.
And that'll bring us now to your third place finisher, the final driver rounding out the podium here tonight. That's Daniel Falkingham. Daniel, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you bring home a third place finish. You make the big move at the end. You have Cody go with you. What more do you guys think you needed right there to get clear and try to make that move back up top?
Yeah, I think what we needed was for Freddie to stick with Cody and have us in a 3-car 10, especially come through the trial. Because we were drawing even. I knew they were going to pull us back with the side draft, but we were drawing even with them. And I had my nose out ahead going into 3. If all 3 of us could just stay glued together, because there was a split second in the tri-oval where old Guest got disconnected from Kyler, and then cost them some momentum. If Freddie could have just hit Cody directly in the center and hit him into me, and we could have all stayed stuck together, it would have been close between me and Malik. I don't know who would have gotten it, but it would have been very close. But yeah, I think we did the perfect move. I think that's all we could have done right there. We could have maybe waited till the backstretch, but I wanted us to give ourselves like time to do something. Because if we wait until like turn 3, I feel like it's just going to be more of just a power struggle trying to get back to the line. So no, I think what we did was perfect, but just need just a little bit more on the execution right there with just having 3 of us together compared to the 4 guys up top. But I think for just having me and Cody up there, and I think we had Freddie and Kenny back there as well. So we did all we could, but thankfully we were able to come home and have a solid finish.
Absolutely. And I mean, overall, we saw teamwork. We see teamwork pretty much every week in any race. Do you feel like there's a little bit more of an emphasis when you kind of use the next gen car or even the Gen 6 car versus when we say we're in a race with the Xfinity series or the trucks?
It's definitely hard to tell for me because like I do prefer the racing in the next gen and the Gen 6 because you can create runs. I feel like you're more in control. But definitely, like, cause with how strong the side draft is, it's so easy to like have like so many guys go to the inside, then you just pull down side draft, and everyone like stays pushing you. But it's so easy for people to hang you out as well. So it's in one way, it's like 50-50. Just whether you have people you think that will work with you, but they don't. Like, but definitely, especially the team aspect, really is very important in this kind of style racing compared to say like the Xfinity in the truck, where it's like more like a gridlock. So it's like anything can be out of your control in a way. But yeah, I'd say like it can go either way, honestly. But definitely having the teams is very crucial, especially in a car like this.
And well, it goes your way tonight. You bring home a 3rd place finish and a good payout to go along with it. So before we let you head out to go celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, shout out Cody for working with me the whole race. Like he was glued to my bumper that entire race, and we wanted to finish here once for him being behind me. So I really appreciate all the heck of a show he gave me at the end. Also Freddie and Kenny for working with us at the end there as well. But yeah, but shout out to everyone who comes out of races. Shout out to the admins, put the show on. And yeah, appreciate you guys broadcasting, and it's been fun. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Sounds like a plan. Well, Daniel, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the 3rd place finish, and we will see you tomorrow night.
All right, thanks, Austin.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. And, I mean, overall, it was a pretty crazy race, Matt, but it had a very tame finish. We see Malik Ray get the job done here tonight, takes the victory. And I think part of the reason that we saw kind of tameness at the end is because we saw so many cars eliminated by the time we got to that point.
Yeah, the green flag pit stop there, getting towards the end of this race really mellowed things out. Because, I mean, if you go back all the way to the heat races, I mean, the moral of the story tonight was be prepared for anything and everything. I mean, I don't think Hollywood could have scripted a race better than what these guys put on tonight. You had the chaos, you had the calamity, you had the insane bump drafts. How about, I mean, some of the saves that we've seen out there tonight? I mean, this race had it all. Certainly you fans at home, you got your money's worth up here with us, hanging on for the ride. And ultimately, Malik Ray has his day here tonight. He punches his ticket into victory lane. And as we just heard moments ago, we get to rack him, stack him, do it all again tomorrow night. So make sure everyone, you're on board with myself and Austin for round number 2 as we get to do it again in less than 24 hours, bud.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It is going to be fun. All right, with that, we'll officially wrap it up here tonight. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope that you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, alongside Matt Mettler on PGR eSports. And until next time, have a good night.